Svetlana Koltsova, 170 combat clashes were recorded on the front line over the past day, according to the General Staff. The situation remains most difficult in the Pokrovsk direction. Street fighting continues in the city. According to Deep State, the enemy has captured a large part of the city and is currently assaulting the northern sector. The line of fighting has advanced to the railway tracks. The Russians managed to carry out nearly 30 more attacks in the Kostiantinivka sector. The enemy is also putting pressure on Vovchansk and Kupiansk, cities that the Russian Federation has already declared captured. But our defenders are holding their ground. And more details in the next report.
Tatiana Litvin, the situation in Vovchansk has escalated. The enemy is trying to advance. Ukrainian defenders are steadfastly holding their positions. The FPV drone pilots of the 91st Battalion are working confidently and in coordination. The occupiers hide behind fences, stockpile gunpowder in the tree lines, and place their artillery out of sight, but our forces find everything. Ukrainian aviation destroyed a UAV control point in Vovchansk. Border guards from the Stryzh unit used drones to destroy an ammunition depot, a communications antenna, a generator, and enemy shelters in the southern Slobozhansky direction. The birds of the Kolibri combat group from the 41st Mechanized Brigade bring fire on their wings every time to wherever the enemy is hiding, leaving the invaders in dark burrows. Fighters from the Burovy Brigade continue their operations in the Kupiansk sector. The video confirms hits on enemy personnel, shelters, and FPV drones. Equipment and elements that supported the operation and coordination of enemy units were destroyed.
They're firing, next one. They set the fuel tank on fire. Watch the stream.
Come on.
I saw it, Alexander. They hit our battery, it caught fire. But even on fire, we still managed to fly. It was a steep dive.
Tatiana Litvin, most of Kupiansk remains under the control of Ukrainian forces. Separate groups of Russian invaders are holding out in the northern districts. In particular, the pilots of the 116th Mechanized Brigade are stopping the enemy.
Alexander Syomin, I refute those rumors and stories that Kupiansk is already under the Russian Federation. No, that's not the case. They come in groups, the groups get lost, the groups are broken up. They start scattering in all directions, are taken prisoner, or are eliminated on the spot.
Tatiana Litvin, in the north and northeast of Kupiansk, the soldiers of the 151st Mechanized Brigade are repelling enemy attacks. Up to 40 assaults per day are being stopped by our soldiers in the Lyman area. In small groups, the enemy is trying to gain a foothold on the outskirts of Lyman. There is no Russian breakthrough here, according to the 3rd Army Corps. In particular, the 60th and 63rd Brigades are not allowing the enemy to enter the city. This is a video of their work. After the drops, the enemy group loses not only combat capability, but also the ability to identify their losses. The 3rd Corps continues to hold the defensive line at the positions it occupies.
Vyacheslav Nonok. I want to thank the Russian war correspondent Timofey Ermakov. On his Telegram channel, he talked about our positions. Thanks to this, the Ukrainians found us and took us prisoner instead of killing us. Timofey, you saved our lives. Keep writing, save other guys too.
Tatiana Litvin. The fighters of the Signum unit of the 53rd Mechanized Brigade are also destroying enemy logistics in this direction. Trucks, UAZ vehicles, ATVs and motorcycles, everything that gets in their way is being taken apart. And the 93rd Brigade Kolodny Yar showed how a ground drone saves its iron comrades. The occupiers are hunting our UGVs. Their colleagues set out to evacuate the robots and downed drones. Drone operators from the Azov Corps are actively destroying enemy armored vehicles on the Dobropilya sector. The enemy does not stop trying to break through our lines, but the Azov fighters are always ready. The Pokrovsk direction remains the most difficult on the front. The enemy is not easing the pressure on the city and continues to infiltrate in small groups. Under the cover of fog, they try to bring in vehicles. Drone operators from the 7th Air Assault Corps blew up 2 tanks on the outskirts of Mirnorad. One of them got stuck in an anti-tank ditch, after which the column was quickly brought under fire control. As a result of the operation, the enemy targets were destroyed.
Alexander Konarenko, the enemy is bogged down in urban fighting for Pokrovsk and for now cannot capture the city by force of arms. That is why the enemy is trying to ramp up propaganda and disinformation, manipulating fabrications about the alleged capture of Pokrovsk. The situation in our area of responsibility remains difficult. The enemy is actively assaulting the northern part of the city. Our soldiers continue to carry out their mission of defending Pokrovsk, holding back the advance of the Russians.
Tatiana Litvin, every operation carried out by Ukrainian defenders in Pokrovsk is an example of extraordinary courage. These are images from the Special Operations Forces fighters. Despite heavy shelling of industrial facilities and the enemy's attempts to gain a foothold there, SOF operators eliminated 3 occupiers who advanced to their planned position.
pilot. The guys were controlling the sector to make sure no one approached, and they took him out right here. And there was some kind of shelter there, maybe a basement, maybe something else.
Pilot. Well, go check it out.
Tetiana Litvin. In another area, a tactical group carried out a sweep at an industrial facility. During aerial reconnaissance, operators detected the enemy who had infiltrated the territory of the mine. After waiting for favorable weather conditions, the group set out to complete the mission. Next came precise actions according to the planned scenario and with the support of UAV crews. Without any losses and having achieved their objective, the SOF soldiers returned to base. With faith in our fighters, Tetiana Litvin, Inter. Details for the Marathon United News.
Tetiana. And now, regarding the situation at the front, particularly in the Lyman direction, I will continue the conversation with Yevhen Sviridенko, Deputy Chief of Staff of the Rapid Response Border Commandant's Office, Fire Support of the Revenge Brigade. Greetings to you. Glory to Ukraine. Yevhen Sviridенko, good afternoon. Glory to the heroes. Tetiana, and first of all, I want to congratulate you. Today is your day, the day of the artillerymen. You are called the gods of war. Tetiana Litvin. May your shots always be on target. And you know, I want to wish that your ammunition supplies are always in the black. So that you always have a reserve. And tell us, what is the operational situation in the Lyman area? How intense are the battles taking place? How many assaults do you have to stop per day? And has the enemy's activity increased?
The trend of enemy assaults is constantly changing. It all depends on the weather, on the reserves they have, as well as their manpower. Over the past day, the number of assaults was up to about 10. All assaults were stopped by artillery fire, as well as by the work of unmanned aviation. The enemy did not achieve any success. The situation remains difficult, but it is being held under control. So, there is information that the enemy has already reached the city of Lyman, but it does not correspond to reality.
And now I draw our viewers' attention to the screens. Take a look, you see a QR code and a card number. Let me remind you once again that today is the day of rocket forces and artillery. Mr. Yevhen Sviridенko is the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Rapid Response Fire Support Border Commandant Brigade Vengeance. So today, let's give a gift to our artillerymen, the gods of war. We are waiting for your donations. It can be a small amount, but preferably, of course, more. But whatever you can give, let's do a good deed today. Let's congratulate our guys who are defending us in the Lyman direction, where there is noticeable activity from Russian troops. And Mr. Yevhen, can you tell us what we are donating for?
We are raising funds for ATVs, electronic warfare equipment, and reconnaissance drones. ATVs have proven themselves to be very effective. They make it possible to quickly evacuate the wounded, as well as deliver necessary supplies or ammunition. Well, of course, we understand that you can't deliver all the artillery ammunition with an ATV, but it does help the ATV to act quite quickly. Electronic warfare equipment is also like a panacea in the East. You simply can't do without them. Everyone can see that the use of FPV drones on fiber optics has become more common, but they account for only about 15 to 20%. The predominant use of drones still relies on analog models, using analog signals that can be intercepted by electronic warfare equipment, as well as reconnaissance drones that help adjust artillery fire, and, after a shot, make corrections to ensure the target is hit with 100% accuracy.
So dear viewers, join this fundraiser, this festive fundraiser. Daily updates from the military project Deep State and the Institute for the Study of War indicate regular advances by Russian forces in several directions. And in the Lyman area on the Frontline map, you can see that the Russians, as around other cities, are following their established tactic of trying to create a pocket, encircling from the north and south. How close have they gotten to the city? Are they resorting to infiltration tactics, that is seepage?
Well, the enemy is acting according to their classic method. They send small tactical groups of 5 to 7 people who attempt to break through the first line and gain a foothold. But thanks to reconnaissance aviation, these targets are detected and we strike them with our long-range artillery. We have 155mm caliber weapons in our arsenal. We use high explosive as well as cluster munitions, which instantly put an end to their attempts. When the 155s are firing, no one can even lift their head. So when they try to form this pocket, we cut off these pincers with artillery fire. Our infantry is also working and holding the positions, but we stop infiltration groups with artillery.
Fog doesn't interfere with the artillery. So how does fog affect your defensive capabilities? How do the Russians use this kind of weather?
The Russians take advantage of the fog. When aerial reconnaissance becomes less effective, the enemy uses the fog as cover to advance. But aerial reconnaissance only became widespread in 2022, while artillery has existed for centuries. That's why there is fire adjustment from the ground, ground-based fire correction. In other words, the infantry reports on the enemy's approach. For example, when a group is moving. We have good foreign weapons as well as Ukrainian developed MLRS systems. The MLRS simply works over a grid square or that tree line, and the term meat assault takes on a literal meaning.
Then share the statistics on enemy losses. What were you able to hit and destroy?
Well, this week there were several assault attempts. As I said, we detected movement in the distance. They were moving through the rear. Our reconnaissance worked, and the Leleka drone from our unit, which conducts reconnaissance, also did its job. That area was hit with 155mm cluster munitions. The preliminary losses were 5 KIA, 2 WIA. That was one group. There were also 2 more groups. The enemy was similar. There it was confirmed that in one group there were 3 KIA and 2 WIA. In the third group there were 4 KIA and 3 WA. These were 3 groups that were destroyed. We are also conducting counter-battery operations. We have a special technical device that detects enemy artillery activity, and an immediate strike is carried out on the location where the artillery was detected. Then a drone is launched, additional reconnaissance is conducted, and a second strike is delivered.
Dear viewers, you have heard the results of our work. The statistics of Russian losses in the direction near the city of Lyman, and for some reason I'm convinced that you have contributed as well. These are your donations. These are the very drones that our defenders can then purchase and upgrade. As far as I understand, there are still enough 155mm shells for now, and we're not raising funds for those. We're raising funds for ATVs, so that our soldiers can stay mobile, maneuver, and so the enemy can't hit them with drones either. Once again, we're raising funds for EW systems and drones. So you can see the QR code, and the card number is right below it. Join this fight for Ukraine. Mr. Yevhen, are there any signs that the Russians are bringing in additional forces? Is there an opportunity for our artillery to strike their rear positions?
For example, there's a settlement called Nova in the Lyman district. This settlement is located above Lyman, so the enemy is constantly moving their reserves there to try to make attempts to storm the area around the settlement of Shandryholov. But long-range artillery is working well. They've almost leveled the settlement. There are shelters there, such as fire-resistant dugouts, There are basements in the houses, basements at the farm. There used to be a large agricultural enterprise there. But, with our artillery, we constantly level their fortified area where they are amassing forces, and we prevent their reserves from advancing further to their positions.
When it comes to the use of drones, how does our capability compare to the enemy's?
Well, the ratio is constantly changing. The Russians have them too, we can't discount them. They have, a couple of top-tier units. So when they come in to operate in a certain direction, things get a bit more complicated with logistics and everything else. They have 2 very powerful units there. They've operated both in the Konstantinivka direction and also in the Lyman direction. When they come in, they really hit our logistics hard. That's why I want to emphasize again the importance of our fundraising for electronic warfare systems, which help protect logistics in the rear. We don't really have a problem with drones, but there's never enough of them. We need to adjust artillery fire, conduct reconnaissance and further reconnaissance, and also, coordinate the work of the infantry.
Mr. Yevhen, across the front, the practice of using UGVs for remote mining and for evacuating the wounded is spreading. How does your unit feel about this? And do you have enough resources?
We have a rather positive attitude toward this. A fairly large number of our servicemen have undergone training to become UGV operators. We have also been supplied with several UGVs, and the guys are working specifically, as you mentioned, delivering ammunition. I want to emphasize, with 155, you can't bring much with it, but they allow us to evacuate the wounded, as well as deliver some supplies to a position where, for example, the road is temporarily controlled by the enemy's loitering drones, like on the power line. And so as not to put people at risk, not to deliver supplies to them directly, we use the MPK to bring them in.
Mr. Yevhen, once again, I congratulate you and your unit on your day, and we never tire of thanking you for defending us. May you always hit the enemy accurately. May your supplies always be full of 155mm shells, and may you get that notification about donations more and more often. I thank each and every one of you.
What's there to thank for?
I thank every viewer who joined this fundraiser today. We were joined live by Yevhen Sviridenko, Deputy Chief of Staff of the Rapid Response Border Commandant's Fire Support Brigade, Pomsta.